Expert witness marketing. So in this video, I'm going to tell you about the best way of marketing your expert witness business and how you can get more case referrals and more business altogether in just 30 minutes per day with our proprietary system. And if you're interested in this, make sure that you stay for the full duration of this video. And obviously, if you like this sort of content, make sure that you hit that like button and the subscribe button and put any comments down here in the comment section. So let's get into the presentation. But before I start telling you about the details of the system, let's first start with a short story. Here's John. He's just a regular nice guy. He's married and he's also an expert witness. John gets 100% of his cases from various kinds of expert witness directories, agencies, from brokers, and from other types of listing services. He doesn't get massive amounts of business, but he gets enough to support himself and his family. John has decided to take his wife to Florida. The kids are all grown up, they're out of the home, and they're going for a nice, well-deserved trip together. And here's John's wife. You can see how happy she is for some quality time in the sun with him. Now, just for your information, we work with plenty of female clients, so you could very easily replace John with his wife, and the story here will work just as well. Now, remember how happy John's wife is to be on this holiday? Well, she's about to get even happier because one day when they're window shopping, John looks down and he sees a lottery ticket just lying there on the pavement. So he decides to pick it up and have a look at it once he gets back to the hotel room. So when John checks the ticket back in the hotel room, it turns out that he's won, and he's won pretty big. Oh, it's a nice win, but it's not enough for him to retire early and never work again in his life. But it will be a nice addition to the retirement savings, and it will also allow him to work much more calmly. There's no pressure, there's no immediate need for him to generate revenue, and he's also able to make better strategic decisions with his business because he knows he has the security of that money. Now, there's only one cloud on the horizon. And don't mind John having switched back into business gear here because he's a very serious expert witness. So the challenge for John is that he's on holiday for an additional week with his wife in Orlando, but the winning lottery ticket can only be cashed in Tampa. So that means that he's going to have to drive about 1.5 hours to get to Tampa, and then about 1.5 hours to get back to Orlando. So that's 3 hours drive in total. So what do you think that John will do? Will he make that drive to Tampa? Well, John and his wife decide to just enjoy the rest of their holiday, and they forget all about the ticket because they can't be bothered with driving those 3 hours to pick up the winnings. And 7 days later, they fly right back home again. So does this make sense to you? Well, I bet it doesn't. But this is precisely what most expert witnesses do. And let me explain what I mean by that. And this makes even less sense than at first appearance because most experts don't get enough business from the directories, agencies, organizations, and various brokers that they rely 100% on for obtaining business. It would, of course, be a little bit more understandable if they were actually getting enough business, but the truth is they don't. And the question here is really, why would you leave money on the table just like John did? And here's how most experts will approach obtaining more business. They will try to join as many agencies, directories, organizations, listings, etc. as they can find. But zero business times 10 or 20 different agencies and directories is still going to be zero. It doesn't matter if you join even 100 different directories. If you get zero business from them, you're still going to end up with zero business in total. And you may laugh at this example, but I've actually had conversations with people, and one in particular comes to mind where I spoke to an expert witness and he was joined by his marketing expert on the call. The expert in question was part of 8 or 9 different directories, and he was getting very little business from them. And him and his marketing person understood the fact that it wasn't a reliable strategy, but they didn't know what else to do. So they had identified 10 additional directories and agencies that they wanted the expert to join. And this obviously makes no sense at all, but it is extremely common. And why is that? Well, in our experience, it comes down to these 3 key points. So the first one, not aware. Well, if the majority of experts get cases or they get a very limited set of cases from all of these different sources that I just mentioned, then it means that there's going to be very few that understand what else to do. Those that know and are able to obtain business in other ways will obviously closely guard that secret. Some will have some understanding of what they can, but they won't know exactly what to do, how to do it, and when to do it. And it's much easier just to do nothing for many in that situation. And finally, there are those who aren't interested. And this may very well be a consequence of the first 2 points that I mentioned, but they just don't feel like they have the time. They don't feel like they have the energy. They don't feel like they have the interest. What if I told you that it will only require 30 minutes per day to significantly improve the chances of you getting more business? We're not talking about climbing Mount Everest here. It's just a limited set of activities that you can perform every day, 30 minutes per day, and it's going to significantly change the outcome of how much business you're getting. And you wouldn't even have to do this yourself if you didn't want to. So you could actually use outsourcing or insourcing to get help with performing probably over 80% of these activities. And this is precisely what we teach our clients to do. If you implement this system, you're going to be one of the few that are doing this, and it will definitely set you and your business apart. Just look at John here, how happy he is. What I'm saying here is not that you should quit the different agencies and the directories and the platforms and the brokers that you may be working with, because if they're providing you with business, even though it's limited business, that's absolutely fine. But what I'm suggesting is that you use diversification. You definitely don't want to have all your eggs in one basket, and especially when it means that you're not in control and owning the relationships. So you want to make sure that you're also obtaining direct referrals from attorneys and law firms. This will help future-proof your business. This will help provide you with a much higher and also a more reliable income. So let's talk about the details, how you're able to start a new expert witness business or grow your existing business. And this will apply to all of these different scenarios. If you're trying to get more work as an employee of a company, if you're trying to start your own company, if you're already a full-time expert witness, if you have a business where you're providing expert witness services, but also other types of services, such as consulting, it will apply to all of these different scenarios. So here's the basic taxonomy. And the reason why I want to use this system is because so many experts get this wrong. Now, naturally, this overview won't be completely exhaustive. It won't apply to every single expert witness in every single location at every point in time. But it will give you the foundation and the core building blocks for building out your business at the different stages. What I'm referring to here is really where you start out relates to where you are today. So if you have no business and you're literally just starting out today, then you would start at the beginner level, but you could very quickly progress up to advanced level in terms of your business development activities. And if you already are getting business today, then chances are that you're going to be in the intermediate level, which means that you can quickly progress to the advanced level should you want to. So let's start off with the beginner level. And your objective here is not to spend months on getting the nicest website or printing the nicest business cards or anything like that. What it all comes down to here is how you can make your business as commercially viable as quickly as possible, and how to best obtain the necessary visibility and experience to move on to the more advanced stages of business development. So the first point here is really the commercially viable business. What that comes down to is just understanding that the services that you provide are in demand, that you're operating a geographical area where you have potential clients. Since starting out tends to take time, I would always suggest that you also evaluate other types of business activities. So let's say that you are able to provide consulting services as well, not only expert witness testimony and expert witness reports. Well, in this case, unless you feel like you don't need the income, I would definitely suggest that you also provide consulting services, because it's generally quicker to monetize those kinds of services. At this stage, you should also join different agencies and directories. And if you're able to work with brokers, then that's also a good suggestion, because they tend to get paid when you get business. So you don't have to fork up money up front. Now, hopefully you will see business coming in from point 3 and 4. Another thing that you may want to do is learn from other expert witnesses. So there are associations and organizations that help train experts where you are able to meet other experts, but you can also meet experts online. For example, you can connect with people on LinkedIn, you can follow their content, you can also interact one-on-one with them. So there's different ways for you to understand how you can become a better expert, but also how you can approach business development. But I wouldn't put too much emphasis on understanding what other people do. And the reason is simply what I've covered thus far in the presentation. You won't necessarily know how much business someone is getting, and they may just be very active on social media, but they're getting no business from the directories and agencies and listings that they are part of. You also want to make sure that you have basic visibility. So that means that you have a website, you have a LinkedIn profile, and if there are any other type of offline and online settings that make sense for your particular type of business, then you should also set that up at this stage. But remember, we're not talking about spending months on this here. We're talking about relevant, basic visibility. It is important, though, that the content that you provide is targeted towards your target audiences. So you want to make sure that whatever content you use speaks directly to the people that ultimately will be hiring you. Don't rely too much on what you see your peers do. Make your own decision. You should also focus on basic networking. So this can be meeting people at conferences, but it could also be connecting with people on social media such as LinkedIn. If you're getting cases at this stage, if you're getting different types of work, then obviously you can start providing value by doing a good job, by being reliable, by being responsive. This is one of the key things that you can do to help create your reputation as a great expert witness. But obviously, if you're not getting any work today, then it becomes a little bit harder and you may have to wait until you're able to do so. But please remember that providing value doesn't always come in the context of business. It may also be non-business related activities. Keeping that in mind may help you with creating very strong relationships with the people that you interact with. And keep these three things in mind. Don't make yourself busy just to get busy. And this often happens with irrelevant activities. You don't need to spend months printing your business cards or getting the phone number that you want or getting a nice office or redecorating your office. Like, all of that is irrelevant. It's much more important that you focus on the points that I covered on the previous slide. The second point is, don't expect to get business from agencies, directories, platforms, brokers, and other types of listings. We've already covered this, but it really warrants saying again. If you get business from them, great. Don't expect it, so don't sit and wait for business to come in just because you joined a few directories and agencies. Make sure that you focus on all of the activities that we covered on the previous slide first. Whatever you do, just expect that it will take time. It takes time to create the level of visibility that you need. And this is a relationship business. People will select you based on if someone's worked with you in the past, based on your track record, and that does not happen overnight. So that takes us to intermediate level. And at this stage, you are already getting cases, you're already getting paid work, but it will not be as much as you would want to. So the first thing that you can do here, and this is obviously no order of significance, but you should use LinkedIn for communication and networking purposes. It is a fantastic platform to become noticed and stay on top of mind and create new relevant contacts. Just remember that you should mind the content that you produce, because as an expert witness, that can come back and haunt you. But having said that, we have many experts that are very active on blogs, on social media, etc. And it doesn't prevent them from doing a good job. You just need to be conscious of the kind of content that you produce. You should also be active in other ways, both on and offline. So there may be opportunities for you to do speaking engagements. You could be on different kinds of panels. Maybe you can be interviewed on radio. Maybe you can write a book, maybe you can teach at the university. So all of these different things will help you with your visibility. At this stage, you also want to make sure that you start expanding your network with clients and referral parties. And this could be done in an online context, but also offline. So for example, you may meet people when you go to conferences. And that's a great way, obviously, of starting the foundation for a business relationship. But you could also do this online. This day and age, a lot of networking is conducted via sites such as LinkedIn. It's the largest professional network in the world, and it really offers unparalleled potential to identify relevant individuals that you can connect with. Now, obviously, the general idea here is not for you to stay online on LinkedIn forever with those relationships. It will ultimately come down to you moving individuals from the online space into phone conversations, video conversations, and perhaps even meeting them in person. Since you already are getting business today, you will have some kind of network. So you want to make sure that you make the most of that network, because if you are able to obtain word of mouth, then nothing really beats that in terms of business development. Finally, I've said that before, deliver value. Always deliver value. But don't only think of it in the context of business-related activities. It could also be non-business related. Perhaps there are ways for you to get to know the people that you're working with better. And if you do so, you are potentially also able to help them with non-business related activities. And finally, we have the advanced level. And most people simply aren't at this level. And this is generally where we take our clients and we show them how to become very advanced in their business development activities. And the easiest way to explain this is that here at this level, you're not really getting people to come to you. They come to you by themselves. You have sufficient visibility and experience to pull people in. Your business development activities are at this stage so finely tuned, you don't come across as actually needing business, and people are pre-sold on your capabilities. You're able to leverage your network by ultimately people networking for you. So that's something that goes on 24/7. Word of mouth is one of the strongest forms of business development. People just tend to settle for that happening. We have ways to make your word of mouth go exponential. Network expansion, precise and purpose-built activity, connecting with the right clients and referral parties at scale. And in this case, more is better because it will greatly improve the chances of success. Advanced contact cultivation. Well, you're not going to create a new business relationship by simply sending someone an email or a LinkedIn connection. It generally takes much more than that. So the better the strategy here, the more naturally you're able to take someone from a new connection to an active and recurring business relationship. Posting on your blog and on LinkedIn is obviously good, but there are ways for you to do even better when you understand LinkedIn's engine. And there are other activities, both on and offline, that can help to greatly improve your visibility and ensure that you stay top of mind. And finally, deliver value. I'm not going to repeat the details of that, but it is extremely important that you always keep that front and center. And at this level, and I guess even at the intermediate level, remember these 3 key points. Don't skip business development just because you are busy. In fact, it's better to focus on business development when you are busy rather than when you really need the business. Don't expect things to always stay the same. Just because you are getting business from a directory today doesn't mean that you're always going to get that business, because things will change. Make sure that you cultivate your contacts both horizontally and vertically. And by that, I mean, make sure that you connect with more contacts that are similar to the ones that already are providing you with business today, but also cultivate younger and upcoming relationships, because people will retire and things may change. So you always want to make sure that you have a healthy pool of new contacts that you're able to cultivate. So before we finish up this presentation, I just wanted to leave you with 2 really important points. And these are based on 2 very common questions that we get. The first one revolves around location. And the question will typically be, will this work for me? Because I'm based in Germany, I'm based in South Africa, I'm based in Australia, I'm based in Europe, I'm based in the US, I'm based in Canada. And it could also be, will this work because I'm based in New York, I'm based in some other big city, or I'm based in the countryside? And even though there may be nuances that one needs to take into account, our experience is that for pretty much everyone, the same building blocks apply. There may, of course, be ways for you to enhance your business development based on which location that you're in, but that's really a second order focus area. 80% plus of the results that you're going to get from your business development activities will come from the same kind of building blocks that applies to everyone in the space. So my message is, don't occupy yourself with thinking about how your business is different because you are based in the big city, or you're based in the countryside, or you're in this or that country, because you will be wasting your time. It will not matter. Once you have a business which is really up and running, and you have a steady stream of business coming in from a wide range of different parties, well, then you can start thinking potentially about location-specific focus areas, if that makes sense at the time. And the reason why we know what we're talking about here is because we work with clients all over the world, in the US, in Canada, in South America, Europe, Australia, New Zealand, all over the place. And we also have clients that are operating in big cities as well as in the countryside. In fact, we had one client that was based in the Australian outback, and the same building blocks apply for all of them pretty much. Now, the second question that we often get is, what strategy should I have? Because I'm a forensic expert, or I'm an IP expert, or I'm a real estate expert. And I think you can guess where I'm going with this. What specialist area that you have, what niche area that you're focused on, obviously matters, but it does not matter from a business development perspective. Because again, our experience in working with experts all across the world is that the same building blocks apply. So don't occupy yourself with trying to figure out how your business is different, because it won't be different. There may potentially be ways for you to implement niche-specific focus areas in the future, but again, that's a second-order focus area. It very likely won't be relevant, so it's much more important to get the job done with laying the foundations of these building blocks that apply to pretty much every other expert. So why is it then that location and your specialist area doesn't matter so much from a business development perspective? Well, the simple answer is you're always interacting with other people. So whether that is an attorney or some other decision maker or some other kind of professional, there's always going to be people that you're facing on the other end. And what drives how much business you get, how many cases that you get, is a direct function of your relationships and your visibility. And developing these relationships is no different in Los Angeles compared to New York, compared to England. There may be some slight differences, but those are really too small for you to be focused on initially. 80% of your results are going to come from applying these strategic building blocks that we've discussed in this video. And obviously the same thing applies when it comes to your specific niche area, your specialist area. It won't matter so much what area that you're focused in, because you're still going to be interacting with other people on the other end, and you're going to have to enhance your visibility, and you're going to have to cultivate direct relationships with them. And the final thing I wanted to leave you with is just these 3 points. First of all, make sure that you have patience. It won't happen overnight when it comes to building out your visibility and cultivating those relationships. It always takes time, so make sure that you have patience. And make sure that you focus on this consistently. Don't accept ebbs and flows, only doing business development work when you have the time. You should be able to squeeze in 30 minutes per day, and especially if you're outsourcing your activities. So make sure that the work gets done consistently. And it's much better to do things incrementally. So 30 minutes per day beats bulk efforts during the weekend or once per month. Try to get this work in continuously over time, and you'll see that you're going to be able to generate some really impressive results. I hope you like this content. If you did, please hit that like button and the subscribe button. And if you have any comments on the content that I presented here today, or if you have suggestions for topics that I should cover in future videos, then make sure that you put that down here in the comment section. Okay, so thanks very much for listening in, and hopefully I'll see you in the next video.